I am so excited. Okay, so I edited this fairy session and it was literally the best thing I've ever done. I'm so excited to teach you guys how I edited, well, at least this image. So first things first, I had to get rid of like the kind of distracting rope from my Amazon swing. And then the next thing I did was try to make it look like the ivy was actually going all the way up. So I tried using like the stamp tool and then using like lasso and then copy and paste. And I ended up liking the copy and paste a lot more. So if you know this method, 10 out of 10 would recommend, honestly. And then I used a gradient and went over that and had it kind of like clip into the layer. So it only applied to that ivy layer. And then I tried different ways of, blend modes. And so what I didn't realize was that the edges are kind of there. So using the wand tool, I just deleted the edges and it looked so good. I was so surprised on how good it looked. And I mean, not to say like I'm amazing or anything, like it just, I really did impress myself when I like figured it out. Like, you know those moments where you're like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but it ended up working and I was so happy. And all I did there for the chair was like kind of add like a grain, because the Amazon swing that I bought was like a bare wood, and I wanted it to have a little bit more of a like a burnty kind of like feel to it. So in a layer, I just kind of added some stripes and then changed to how it was blending. And then here, again, like most of my editing, it's not going to translate exactly how if you guys were to edit this. I'm just playing around and using different like tones and stuff. But for this part, this is actually something I learned from PHLEARN. So PHLEARN on YouTube has a tutorial on how to create cloud. Well, it's not cloud. I would say fog brushes. So definitely go check them out, because this is how I learned how to do it. Basically, get a huge cloud kind of photo and then invert it, create it black and white, and then play with the settings in the brush. And it looked really cool, like really, really cool. I didn't know how much fog I wanted, but I knew that I wanted kind of like this magical, whimsical kind of style. So I just started playing with it, and then I ended up just turning off the layer mask altogether, because again, I just didn't know how much I wanted, and it, you know, what was too much, you know. So we're just gonna go ahead and turn it off for the rest of it. And I just like didn't know yet, but I do like this really clean look. So the next thing I did was I knew I wanted to add some kind of like light ambience, and I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. So I did download these two images and brought them into Photoshop, deleted the background, went in and I cleaned up the edges. And then after cleaning up the edges, what I did was kind of the cleaning up the edges part. Oh my gosh, guys, if you know a better way to clean up edges, please let me know, because this took me forever and it was painstaking. Okay, so I tried to tone it different ways and try to get rid of stuff, and then I realized that because it was shot on white, I couldn't, like, you had to like literally go in and do all the like minuscule details, which were so ultimately time consuming. And then I started to think like, wait, hold on, the glass was shot on white, how am I gonna make that look, you know, realistic? So this got kind of my brain thinking like, how does light work? How does light fall? And I've done overlays before, but I really wanted this to look, well, obviously real, but also I wanted it to look like it was illuminated from the inside, not just, you know, from the outside, like kind of like a flare. I wanted it like deep in there. So the next thing I did was I duplicated them, added them, and arranged them in different places all through here. I knew I had to blur them out so they can go into the background. This part again was, I'm gonna say that things were tedious, but like this was a little intense. So I dodged and burned everything, and using different ways of like blending. If it was like normal mode, like I was really just trying to get light in there. So like erasing it from those like edges, and by edges I mean like the door hinges, the base, and then trying to add like that deep amber on top. And then I knew that this was open from the inside, so that light would come through the like that ornate top. So trying to create something that looked real was it was difficult for sure. So I noticed again right away that I had to make sure I was flattening all of this, so I had no room for error. So if you've ever worked with composites, having lots of layers is basically your best friend, because you can go back and fix something. Well, here, because the way I was blurring it, it was not allowing me to keep it as separate layers, even if I would go in and do like a smart layer or whatever it's called. I can't think of the name right now. I'm sure one of you guys is gonna like school me in the comments or something. But I knew that I had to do this by hand, and I couldn't just like copy and paste, because it needed to be like basically individualized. Like the light from the second one would hit the swing differently. The one from the back would be a little dimmer because it's further back, and the one in front would have a different hue because it's like out in the open and all that stuff. So they were all very individualized, and then I like kind of got overwhelmed with it. While it's fast time for you guys, this actually took me about like 2, 3, 4 hours to do. The lights alone maybe took me about an hour. So I kind of got frustrated with that, and I decided to work on the fog a little bit. So that's what you saw there. And then here again, I knew I just had to truck through it and just get it done. So trying to make it look realistic, pushing, boundaries of my own knowledge, and trying to remember how light works. And that was frustrating, but I mean, at the end, I feel like it did work out really well. And again, like seeing here, like using different blend modes, I was like, okay, why isn't it working out? Why does the background one work better than this one? Like, do I need to darken it? Do I need to use a different blend mode? Do I need to add more, depth to it overall? And I think it was just one of those things where I kept going back and forth and not understanding why it wouldn't work. And honestly, I was pretty frustrated with the image. I was proud of where it was going, but I was getting frustrated with the outcome I kept seeing, because it wasn't what I had envisioned. It wasn't perfect yet. So I kept trying different blending modes, and I think what I ultimately found out was that pin light was the most like a illuminating light for me. So when I was doing pin light, I would make sure that I was over another kind of color, and making sure that it wasn't just in one area, that it kind of just blended into different tones of it. So using like a very bright yellow to a more desaturated yellow to now a dark yellow, and kind of layering them, but using that blend mode, it helped a lot, like a lot. And yeah, I just had to do that, one more time. But even then, it was really exhausting. But I feel like anybody that does composites would attest to it being kind of intense and time-consuming. But it's kind of annoying, but worth it, I guess. So yeah. The lights, they were a whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing the lights for like every single part of this session, but for this image I felt like it was very necessary. I also have another image of her twirling and running towards me, and that looks very romantic, and I really wanted it to pop, so we might add it there. I don't know, I'm still debating it, because again, these are now flattened. I can't do anything about it. Even if I saved them and I had them in like a Photoshop file, I can't, because the way that the blur worked, I couldn't do it. I should have, and I really should have saved it when they were not blurred and then manually blur later, but I wasn't thinking ahead, and that's definitely something I really should have done. Okay, so here now I'm just adding some dimension, doing some dodging and burning. So like I did last time with the soft light method, where you add a layer, create soft light, and then now you're brushing on with black and white. So black to darken, white to kind of lighten. And then I'm just using it at various opacities over different portions, different parts of the image where I feel like it could use a little bit of depth. She is so beautiful. She has very delicate features, so I didn't want to go too overboard on her face, but the dress, I wanted a little bit more of that kind of like pop, like where it separates from the background. And then here, I didn't really like how the edges looked so sharp, so I was just kind of like blurring that out too. And then playing with the reds and hues and stuff, you know, trying to make those last minute changes, miniature little details that I wanted to kind of just correct overall, because the image still wasn't, you know, perfect in my eyes. See, I saved it as a Photoshop file, but it was like not, I should have done it like way before when I was doing the lights, just so I can have those lights. And then here we're creating candles. So using that same kind of method that I did before, obviously I didn't have any candles lit because I did have little ones here, and I didn't want to set a public park on fire. So that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm just using the warp tool with transform and kind of like transforming the flame a little bit so they don't look so like stick straight. And then different blend modes, having like a kind of glow around it, changing the intensity, just adding a little bit of here and there, kind of final touches, and then merging it all together. And then I realized, oh wait, hold on, I forgot about the fog. So I tried brushing it off of the swing to make the swing come forward a little bit. I tried different methods of just like the wand tool to just apply it some places. I ended up not liking it. So back to square one with the brush tool, but then I changed the way that the fog was blending, and I used difference. And this is gonna sound really dumb, but oh my God, it made a huge difference. So instead of the fog looking so bright, which I didn't really like because it felt like it was very fake, it ended up looking way more natural, which was weird. Like it kind of had that like somewhat ominous kind of feel. And again, here I was just trying to get it so it wouldn't like touch the thing and all this stuff. Yeah, just ignore this part. It just ended up not working out this way. And yeah, the changing the fog to difference was huge, because it really did let it be kind of like still a darker image, but without, you know, taking over with the fog. But yeah, I tried adding some rays afterwards. I don't know how I like the rays, but every time I would flatten it, it would kind of like create a really weird look. Like it would just make them not as bright. But yeah, you guys be the judge. I don't know, I tried it. It looks okay. I wasn't like the biggest fan. I did give her, you know, all 3 versions of this because I wanted her to, you know, have options. But when I did flatten it, it didn't look quite as fancy as I had hoped. Okay, so here you're probably gonna see what I mean like in 2 seconds. So when I would go in and try to blend it, oh, this is me trying to make it blend differently on her skin so it wouldn't look just like it's flat over her, but just kind of like an actual light streak. But it just ended up not working out. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something new, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!